to the point. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to start doing a lot less. You're going to notice a huge, I'm going to do a few more to finish up my obligations, but I'm not doing these much longer. This is it. You want more of the same, then go back to the last 70 years of bullshit, because that's what people think you are. They think you're full of shit because you talk about wacky stuff, you've got no evidence, and because he said he wrote a book on something, what does that mean? It means nothing. You got to show evidence. You got to, where are the bona fides? Where are the videos? Where's the reports? Where's the discussions to Congress and the classified briefings? They're nowhere, because I haven't seen them on the Hill when I'm there. I haven't seen them in D.C. when I'm going by the Pentagon or anywhere else. They're not in those meetings. So you're not going to stop me from doing my pursuits, because I'm taking this very seriously. And I think, I was, when I first came into this, people told me, oh, ufology eats its own. I'm like, what the hell is ufology? I don't even know what that is. I'm not a ufologist. I never have been. I never will be. So stop wrapping me into that. I am not into ufology. I'm not. In fact, it was up to me. I'd blow it up into a million pieces, as I said before.
This story that the New York Times wrote day before yesterday has it's gone a bit viral. So I guess I'm looking right now at the Hill.
This video has come to be known as Go Fast and shows an object speeding just above the water.
That thing is hauling
That's
ass.
exactly my point.
It's a little less than 2/3 the speed of sound.
How is the craft able to fly so fast?
We can apply basic trigonometry to figure out how far it moved. And in this case, this object moved about 390 meters in 22 seconds. And that corresponds to a velocity of just 40 miles per hour.
That thing is hauling
That's
ass.
exactly my point.
40 miles per hour.
It's a little less than 2/3 the speed of sound.
40 miles per hour.
But how is the craft able to fly so fast?
40 miles per hour. 40 miles per hour. 40 miles per hour.
It's about truth. It's about disclosure. It's about transparency. And if it means that I don't get my day in the spotlight, then that's okay, because it's not about that. It never was about that. I didn't leave the Department of Defense because I wanted my day in the spotlight. I left the Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy. I'm not a ufologist. I never have been. I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. But I'm not a UFO guy. And so for me, it's all about the truth. Whether I'm hunting a terrorist or a spy or a UFO, the bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. It just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. It just so happens.
it's clear to me now that Lue Elizondo is deceiving and manipulating the community. I mean, 100%. He admitted to that on our interview Friday by using sock puppet accounts to manipulate and deceive us. Which, I mean, so how can you trust someone who is going to go and create a secret account? Not only just create a secret account and post on it, but he creates these in groups and out groups of people who are in on the secret, and then he, shares this special knowledge with them and really gets them to go out and attack his critics. We can't see what the tweets that he posted under these sock puppets anymore because they've been deleted. But, he made it seem like on the interview that he was just responding to people who are doing personal attacks on his family. That's a load of BS. There wasn't really any attacks on his family before this whole Who's Lue documentary started. And that was after he deleted his sock puppet account. He was using that account to attack people like Mick West and Stephen Greenstreet and, rile people up and sow division. And to what end is really my question now. Why he says that his audience isn't UFO Twitter. If his audience isn't UFO Twitter, why does he have multiple sock puppet accounts engaging with UFO Twitter and doing all of this nonsense? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm at a loss, really.
I'm an intel guy. Consciousness. I'm an intel guy. If I call your mother a hooker. If I call your mother a hooker. Consciousness. I'm an intel guy. Consciousness. I'm an intel guy. If I call your mother a hooker. If I call your mother a hooker. Consciousness. I'm an intel guy. Consciousness. I'm an intel guy. If I call your mother a hooker. If I call your mother a hooker. If I were to call your mother a prostitute. If I were to call your mother a prostitute. If I were to call your mother a prostitute. 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 Prostitute.
Tell me a story, Papa Lewin and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Tell me a story, Papa Lewin and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Tell me a story, Papa Lewin and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Tell me a story, Papa Lewin and Mr. Graves and Nolan. Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin.
I'm an intel guy.
Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin.
I'm an intel guy.
Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin.
I'm an intel guy.
Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin, Papa Lewin.
I'm an intel guy.
We don't know precisely what UFOs are. We don't know precisely what UFOs are. These are transmedium vehicles. That's what they are. That's what they are. These are transmedium vehicles. That's what they are. That's what they are.
I won't sell easily proven fake stories for money. I won't work with the biggest slime ball in UFO land. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Scammers, liars, and fraudsters. Go on to... Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Tonight, this is kind of by special request. I've gotten many messages about some recent Lue Elizondo happenings and people asking me what I think. And instead of replying to all of those messages, it's generally much easier for me to do it this way. So tonight, we're going to be asking the question, is Lue Elizondo just another in a very, very long history of false UFO messiahs? Take a moment to welcome in the live chat as everybody gets set and ready. Got an interesting presentation for you tonight, including a bit of a look at history. I think a lot of people are coming into this subject brand new to it without the benefit of the lessons of history. We did a whole series on former UFO whistleblowers, but I certainly did not include every one of them. It would be an impossible endeavor to try to do that, and an arduous one. But we did include, I believe, some 14 previous UFO whistleblowers of the past. Lue Elizondo is on this list. But before we get into the presentation, I do have some notes. I wanted to talk for a moment about the discredit switch. This is just a term that I have come up with. because it seems that many of these so-called UFO whistleblowers or UFO messiahs or disclosure advocates, they all sound very good. Many of them are well-spoken and appear in some cases to have some media training. But when you dig into their histories, many of these people have a built-in sort of problem that makes each of them easily discreditable, almost as if you wanted someone to spread information. And this is where all the rumors of psyops come from. And the discredit switch is part of these conspiracy theories about these people being part of government psyops, because each of them, I have noticed, not all of them, but many of them have what I call the built-in discredit switch. One of the best examples that I can think of is one Charles Hall, who claimed to be an Air Force officer who was trained in weather observation and stationed at a military base, an Air Force base, in which he met tall white aliens. Mr. Hall is a well-polished public speaker, having spoken, I believe, at hundreds of UFO conferences, of course, for a fee. And Mr. Charles Hall is one of those people with a built-in discredit switch. This man comes across as believable, and he uses the fact that he's an Air Force officer to lend credence to his alien claims. However, a closer examination of Charles Hall and his actual military history reveals that he doesn't have a military history, and in fact was never in the United States Air Force, according to the National Personnel Records Center in the United States, which we and other researchers, I think we're up to 5 times we have attempted with the National Personnel Records Center to get Mr. Hall's records, or at least verification he was in the Air Force. Every single time, the request comes back that Mr. Charles Hall was never in the Air Force. So for Charles Hall, his discredit switch is that he claims that he was in the military and tells this incredible story about meeting aliens while in the military. But once we hit that discredit switch, we find out this is not a credible person that we should be listening to. Another person with a built-in discredit switch is Bob Lazar, who, again, is very convincing, well-spoken, appears to be sort of a science guy, right? Until you dig into his background and find out that all of his educational claims are completely and totally false. And though he's been described in various news articles and sensationalized clickbait videos and podcasts as a former government scientist, the truth is, once you push his discredit switch, you find out he's not even a real scientist, and in fact was a convicted pimp science imposter who never worked for the government. Same goes for some of these more recent people, like Dave Grush, who, again, because of his credentials and his extensive, impressive intelligence work history, appears to be very credible while making claims about aliens. But of course, we are up to, let me just check, friends. I don't ever want to give it the wrong thing. With David Grush, we are up to 346 days now. 346 days, friends. He's been making out of this world claims and has provided zero evidence. But the discredit switch for Mr. Grush is also one that, once pushed, discredits him, at least in my view, an incredibly great deal, because he too has a built-in easy way to completely discredit him as a wackadoo, and that would be that Dave Grush was once involuntarily committed, or 302'd, as it's called in some places, to a mental institution. A judge ordered him held in a mental institution for observation after a psychotic event. So there we have a built-in way to discredit Dave Grush instantly. And when we get to the subject of tonight, Lue Elizondo, again, sounds very impressive. You read that New York Times article, wow, he ran a $22 million funded Pentagon sensitive UFO program. But then you push the switch, and what you find out through various public statements from the Pentagon and former government officials is that Mr. Lue Elizondo never ran a funded or official or real government UFO program. I find it very strange that so many of these characters in UFO land have that, the discredit switch. Easily, these people can be completely and totally discredited, some say, if necessary. I find it to be very strange that so many of these characters, now it may just be that so many of these characters are sort of shady and less than credible, but they put together a good front to pretend to be credible while they're making their UFO dollars, selling their whatever they're selling. I find that incredibly interesting. Now, on a previous broadcast, friends, we did a whole piece on the commonalities and the similarities that I have noticed, and maybe some of you have noticed as well, with these so-called UFO messiahs. I have been observing many of these people since the 1980s. Yes, I've been here in UFO land for way too long, way too long. But I didn't just come up with this list based on my own experience. This list was compiled, this list of common traits of UFO messiahs was compiled through interviewing many other experts who have observed them and talking to them. And I've sent this list to some people that I admire and trust and say, do you think this is valid, these commonalities? And everyone came back, yes. I'm sure some people may disagree with me. However, I think this is a good starting point for, so I tweeted this earlier today and asked a very simple question. How many of these common traits of false, quote, UFO messiahs does Lue Elizondo fit? So as I read this list to you, if you're familiar with Lue Elizondo, I want you to ask yourself, how many of these things does Mr. Lue Elizondo exhibit out of this list of common traits? Number one, all have some secret knowledge to share, usually for a price. Number two, they are special and selected to bring us disclosure and the truth. Number three, all or many claim that they have contact with aliens or did have contact. Number four, all or many have a bloated sense of self-importance. We have seen the out-of-control egos on some of these people. Number five, all or many show signs of a twisted form of savior complex. Number six, all or many show signs of being a sociopath and lack empathy. I should change that to psychopath or sociopath. I'm not an expert in psychology, but we can see that many of these people lack empathy, and we'll get back to that point, a lack of empathy. Number seven, all or many use accepted mythology and build on that foundation. We have seen many of these people building on top of Roswell myth or old fake UFO crash retrieval cases. Lue Elizondo certainly did that. Number eight, all or many are manipulative and use people. Well, when it comes to, we'll get back to that one as well. Number nine, all or many form organizations to fundraise and gain followers. Number 10, all or many overpromise and underdeliver. Number 11, all or many claim to have some form of supernatural powers. Number 12, all are very greedy, always need money, and always asking for more. So when we examine Lue Elizondo, he fits a great many of these traits. Number 12, all are very greedy, always need money, and always looking for more. Lue Elizondo recently tweeted complaining because people are saying that he's just in this for money, that he's essentially broke and living in a trailer, right? But hey, his book is going to be for sale soon. Number 11, all or many claim to have some form of supernatural powers. Lue Elizondo has claimed to save people with his remote viewing superpowers. All or many overpromise and underdeliver. Well, I'm going to show you in a separate graphic that I found Stephen Greenstreet posted earlier, that Lue Elizondo has certainly overpromised and underdelivered. All or many form organizations to fundraise and gain followers. Yes, Lue Elizondo formed TTSA, in which Several $1 million was raised from investors who were all then scammed out of every penny they invested. No one got their money back, to my knowledge. And Lue Elizondo has yet to really explain what happened to the millions of dollars his organization collected. Now, in fairness to Mr. Elizondo, it may very well be that he had more of an employee relationship with Tom DeLonge and friends and was not in direct control of where the money was spent. But I think he should make a public statement, given that so many people were defrauded, allegedly, out of millions of dollars, and he was on the board of that. Also should have to answer some questions like, isn't it immoral or unethical to lie about the resume you're using to collect millions of dollars for your organization? Number 8, all or many are manipulative and use people. Well, regardless of how you may feel about some of the people who have stepped forward and talked about their private interactions with Mr. Elizondo, I'm aware of at least 3 or more people, 4 really, that claim that they were manipulated and used by Lue Elizondo. We've got Lue Reviews. We've got Jeremy McGowan. We've got Rocky Swanson, who we did that exclusive interview here with. We also have Brian Bender and many others, members of the media, claiming that they were purposefully manipulated by Lue Elizondo for whatever purposes. Number 7, all or many use accepted mythology and build on that foundation. We've seen Lue Elizondo use accepted UFO mythology like crash retrievals and building on that mythology. Number 6, all or many show signs of being a sociopath and lack of empathy. Or I should add, being a psychopath and lack of empathy. Lue Elizondo doesn't seem too concerned that how many people were defrauded out of millions of dollars for the TTSA, what has been described in a Washington, D.C. based newspaper as a, quote, techno scam, unquote, that is under some sort of investigation. So where is the empathy from Lue Elizondo for the people who got allegedly scammed out of their money for the TTSA techno scam that he was a part of? Shouldn't he apologize to those people? Mr. Military Honor guy. I mean, I don't understand how you and your buddies collect millions of dollars and then you just do the Cosmic Con shuffle and shuffle off for new adventures to collect money from the UFO community. And by the way, I'm sick of you UFO circle jerkers. Anybody that interviews Lue Elizondo and doesn't ask him to explain what happened to the millions of dollars from the alleged TTSA techno scam, and also apologize to those investors who, many of which feel they were misled, used, and manipulated and lied to, you're not doing the service. You're part of the problem. All or many show signs of a twisted form of savior complex. Well, I guess that would really be up to the observer. Does Lue Elizondo show signs of some sort of savior complex? I think so. He thinks he's Mr. Disclosure, and he describes himself as the world's leading expert on UFOs in his book. We're going to get into that, by the way. All or many have a bloated sense of self-importance. I think it's fair to say that Lue Elizondo has a bloated sense of self-importance, but again, that one's sort of up to the observer, I suppose. Now, number 3, I don't think Elizondo does fall into that. All or many claim they have contact with aliens or did have contact. But he certainly claims that he has secret knowledge to share. Number 2, they are special and selected to bring us disclosure and the truth. I think that fits Mr. Elizondo. All have secret knowledge to share, usually for a price. Well, he's not dropping any secret knowledge unless you buy the book. I don't think there'll be any secret knowledge in the book, but it is what it is. And then we come on to the modus operandi, or how the UFO messiahs scam people. How does this work? Number 1, make fantastical claims with sketchy or no evidence. Lue Elizondo certainly fits that one. We may not be alone. Oh, I wish I could tell you more, but my NDAs, right? Sure. Number 2, form groups with cult-like dynamics. I don't know if anybody remembers, but there was a time when the TTSA alleged techno scam was running that you could not even question anything about TTSA without getting threatened, intimidated, harassed, and more. That's definitely a group with cult-like dynamics that Lue Elizondo was a board member of and a direct beneficiary of. Remember, he got a TV show deal. Apparently, he got paid while being part of that organization and got lucrative public speaking engagements and more from that group and his association with them. Number 3, pretend they are under constant threat and attack. Well, funny that that's on there because Lue Elizondo recently made some claims that he's under threat, right? And if somewhere happened to him, you'll know what happened because he's not into accidents and isn't thinking about killing himself. This pretend they're under constant threat and attack. I have seen so many different people use that, from Corey Good to David Wilcock, Stephen Greer, right? Stephen Greer claims that people on his team were assassinated, right? And people are trying to stop him from talking about the aliens by offering him $2 billion. And he's under threat, right? They all do this. It's a psychological tactic, in my opinion, to make people think that they're more important than they are. Of course, Dave Grush and others have claimed that they were under threat and attack. Number 4, viciously attack their critics or detractors. We have seen Lue Elizondo essentially admitting that he was using sock puppet accounts to threaten, intimidate, and harass his critics. And interestingly, when we did that exclusive interview with Rocky Swanson, he confirmed that faceless bureaucrat account on Twitter that was attacking Green Street and John from the Black Vault, Mick West, and anybody else that had too many questions for Lue Elizondo, the fake Pentagon UFO program director, he would attack them with a sock puppet account. Now, I think that makes him a huge pussy. What a pussy. Only a pussy hides under a fake name on Twitter to go and yell at their critics. A pussy does that. Lue Elizondo's a pussy. There, I said it. Number 4. Oh, I have 4 twice. Jeez, I thought I fixed this. I'm sorry. Constantly hold fundraisers, GoFundMes, or donation scams. Remember, TTSA was supposed to be a public benefit company, right? Number 5, mix religion and New Age philosophy with aliens. Well, we've all heard Mr. Elizondo wax poetically about nothing. Number 6, manipulate groups to find and fleece new followers. I think that's a fair thing to say. We'll see. Number 7, constantly push something big is happening or coming. Well, we'll come back to that one when I show you the next graphic. Number 8, which is really number 9. I don't know how I put 4 twice, but I apologize. Number 8, always selling the latest, greatest, overhyped products. I'm not sure Mr. Elizondo falls into that one, but many of these UFO messiahs do. Now, as far as pushing that big things are coming, they all do this. All these false UFO messiahs push that big things are coming, and then they underdeliver as well. Lue Elizondo on UFO disclosure. December 2017, we may not be alone. December 2018, I think disclosure has already occurred. And by the way, this is a graphic from Stephen Greenstreet at Middle of Mayhem. I also want to mention that Go Fast video in the beginning of the broadcast was also him. I'm trying to find the original tweet that he tweeted that so that I can just put it in the description of the video. I apologize for not doing so when I have used that. December 2018, disclosure already occurred. April 2019, a lot of people ask me, so what do you think? So do you think disclosure has occurred? And I think it has occurred. December 2020, 2021 is shaping up to be a banner year. Remember, you've always got to be promising that big things are coming soon. 2021, pay attention for the next 30 days. I think this conversation is about to get real interesting. Yeah, then nothing happens. January 2022, I think 2022 is going to be an even better year. We've got so many things planned. January 2022, the best is yet to come. We may be reaching a critical mass. December 2022. If you think these are exciting times, just wait for 2023. You ain't seen nothing yet. October 2023. Keep the faith. Much, much more is coming. It's coming and soon. November 2023. Yet another step forward in the disclosure process. This is so stupid.
How could anybody believe this liar? Nothing happened. Every time he said big things are coming, January 2024. There is no going back. This is going to be an interesting year. Oh, I love how they overpromise and underdeliver, friends. But this is something that we have come to expect from the UFO messiahs. And Lue Elizondo is no different. Another common trait is that they always overpromise, which leads to the inevitable underdelivery. And step 3 is the big letdown. A lot of people are experiencing the big letdown with Dave Grush, since it's been 346 days and Dave Grush has yet to provide a single shred of any evidence whatsoever of his claims. That we're in the big letdown stage of David Grush. I'm just glad it seems like this cycle, how long it takes for one of these UFO messiahs to be revealed to be a bullshitter, it's accelerating, right? I watched in horror, friends, for something like I think it was 8 years. I watched in horror as David Wilcock and Corey Goode gathered a huge following telling fake Buck Rogers science fiction fantasy stories that Corey Goode once claimed were real space, adventures he had in the secret space program. I watched in horror as those two clowns dominated the conversation about UFOs and aliens for 8 years. It took 8 years. But luckily, Corey Goode is a dumbass and decided to sue all of his critics. And then he decided to sue all of his business partners. And during the depositions for one of the court cases, the one against his former business partners, he was forced to admit that he'd never even been to space, that he made up those stories, that was just, they came from him. He channeled these stories. They were dramatizations built on his experiences as a child and all these other excuses. But essentially, Corey Goode admits under oath, after 8 years of telling secret space Buck Rogers science fiction fantasy stories, that he made it up. He made it all up, essentially. And so, wow, it took 8 years to figure out that this person was full of shit and weren't a real source of information. They were just here trying to make money. 8 years the cycle took. Now we get to Lue Elizondo. He's been out since 2016. Gee, 8 years again. 8 years it's taken to pick apart Mr. Lue Elizondo's lies of running a real Pentagon UFO program. No, he never did. And but there's some interesting information about his emails and a lot of controversy. Oh, they deleted all of his emails. I mean, listen, I only know what I know from, I've never worked for the government, but I have worked in IT, administering people's emails accounts. I've worked in information technology for large, huge corporations where I oversaw everybody's email accounts within the entire company. And what I can tell you is that if an employee leaves, we don't delete all their emails unless their emails are completely and totally irrelevant and unimportant. And in that case, a judgment call is made. So for whatever reason, Lue Elizondo's emails were deleted. I'm not sure if we've ever gotten clarification from the government of why that is. It may just be that there is a certain number of years. When I was administering email accounts for a huge corporation, if somebody left the company after 3 years, their email, all of their emails were deleted. We don't need to retain that data. If we didn't need it for the last 3 years, we probably don't need it. So supporters of Lue Elizondo look to the deletion of these emails as some grand conspiracy that the government's covering up his activities in a program that never existed. No, I think it's just as likely that Mr. Lue Elizondo's emails were just deleted on a normal schedule that an IT person set, whether that be 3 years, 5 years, or whatever. But I'm going to try to get some clarification on that issue. Unfortunately, when I email this to Susan Goff, I never get a reply. There seems to be a bit of a a prejudice against, these people. I love people that have real press credentials and work for like a real newspaper, because they can get the answers. I think sometimes these government people just see like the Truth Seeker show and they go, oh, a podcaster, and they just don't answer. But interesting that apparently Lue Elizondo's major major proof that he's kind of citing, right, as proof that he ran the ATIP program is that shortly before he left, he sent an email to a person named Neil Tipton, informing Neil Tipton that he had been chosen to continue his efforts. But the email doesn't even mention ATIP. 1 second, I have to share this a weird way, so you'll have to bear with me 1 moment here. Okay. Yeah, so, and this is from UFO Detective Dogbert. Neil, as discussed, thanks for your time with this. As the principal SES in your directorate, I think you are certainly the appropriate representative to help take our effort to a new level. Now, notice he never says ATIP in this email. So he could be literally talking about any effort, really. This is not proof that he ran a program. But anyway, Elizondo's email goes on to say, I think by now you probably already know that I have been managing another nuanced effort within the department for some time. In fact, even when I worked for you years ago, you probably guessed I was also working another effort for the department, given some of our discussion and raw video. I can't overstate how important I believe this portfolio is with respect to our collective national security. So if you are aware, I have already laid the foundations within SecDef's front office, and they support it, to transfer the portfolio under you, given your new focus on special projects for the department and USDI. The front office as well, the front office will also brief up the new USDI once he arrives, but he writes like shit, but I'd hesitant to brief anyone else at this point. So please keep this at our level for now. Initially, I was going to approach John Petty. Is that Podesto? But when he handed over the reins to you, I figured you would be the perfect fit. In the coming weeks, I asked you to attend a few meetings with me in the front office in order that you can meet the rest of the players within the building. Later, I will also introduce you to some of our partners in industry and other agencies who are helping lead the charge. Ultimately, I will need your help analyzing and exploiting material. This was the area, and then it's redacted, was particularly helpful with. Somebody was helpful with exploiting material. Could that be, I don't know, Christopher Mellon? I have a facility I need to show you that you will be able to use. As always, I sincerely appreciate your help with this and look forward to working for you once again. I can't think of a better guy to be involved with this. So supporters of Lue Elizondo are claiming that this is him handing off the ATIP program to this person, Neil Tipton. There's just one project. Neil Tipton doesn't even know what he's talking about, as evidenced by his reply. Thanks, Lou. All good. Although at some point, I need to know what this actually is. Thanks, Neil. So, people claiming that this is proof that Lue Elizondo ran a Pentagon UFO program, you must be getting a sore muscles from that reach, because, and by the way, several people, including Art Levine of the Washington Spectator, have speculated that Lue Elizondo could have just sent this email so that he'd have some kind of paper trail to claim that he ran a government program. All of the people that have been asked within the government that are in a position to know, save one that was involved in a $22 million scam, that would be Harry Reid, all say he never ran any Pentagon UFO program. He doesn't even mention the word ATIP or UFO in this email. He could be literally talking about anything that was within his responsibility that he was handing off to somebody as he was walking out the door of the Pentagon. It's absolutely ridiculous for anybody to claim that this is proof he ran a program. And by the way, I am unaware. I found through my research today, I found what I believe is a contact information or email for this Neil Tipton. And I have reached out for comment and to request an interview about this situation. But as the time of this broadcast, I have not received a reply. I'm not even sure if I have Mr. Tipton's correct contact information. If anybody has his contact information and you're sure it is correct, please email it to me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Because I think if we get to Neil Tipton and then we ask him, did you get briefed, or did he give you UFO files, or what was this about? If Neil Tipton says nothing ever came of this, that will prove more substantially that Lue Elizondo is playing games here. It's all smoke and mirrors, so that, in my opinion, it's smoke and mirrors so that he can go out into the UFO community and make a lot of claims. Oh, I ran a government UFO program. I handed it off to this Tipton person before I left, and the program's still ongoing. The government has denied that the program's still ongoing. Sean Kirkpatrick, the head of the government's real UFO office, he's the real Pentagon UFO program director, not the fake one, Lue Elizondo. He said in Stephen Greenstreet's recent interview with him that ATIP was not a real program run by Lue Elizondo. It was not an official or real program. So the smoke and mirrors kind of falls away. But things get a little crazier because now Mr. Elizondo is releasing wacky statements. I'm going to share my screen once again. 1 second. All right, we've got his full statement here. And by the way, I just want to mention that we know that Lue Elizondo is a joke and a clown now. And there's a big reason that we know that. The big reason that we know that Lue Elizondo is a joke and a clown now is because, and by the way, I believe that he is purposefully sheltering himself from anybody that will ask real questions. He's living in an echo chamber because he knows that he was never the director of any real Pentagon UFO program, and he can't withstand a real interview. The only people he will speak to are Kool-Aid drinking cult members that lick his asshole, like Matt Ford. And though Lue Elizondo once had incredible media contacts, wasn't he interviewed by CNN and Fox News and 60 Minutes and all these other media outlets interviewed him? But when he has to make a public statement of incredible importance, instead of releasing it to 60 Minutes or CNN or Fox News or MSNBC or NBC or CBS or even News Nation, right? Instead of releasing that to them, he releases this to a Kool-Aid drinking cult member of his. And let's be clear, that's what Matt Ford is. Matt Ford and the Good Propaganda Show is there to lick the assholes of UFO celebrities and help them sell their fake shit. And before we get to Mr. Lue Elizondo's statement, I should explain trickle-down grift-onomics. Trickle-down grift-onomics is very common in the UFO community. This is how it works. The top-tier UFO grifters, lying scumbags like Lue Elizondo, they employ the help of the bottom feeders. There's a pyramid to the grifting. And at the top are the top-tier UFO scammer grifters, whatever you want to call them, storytellers, like a fake Pentagon UFO program director, Lue Elizondo, like a fake UFO whistleblower that has no evidence, Dave Grush. Those are the top tier of the pyramid. And the lower portion of the pyramid, it consists of bottom feeding scumbags who help these grifters in exchange for their little piece of the grift. It is called, I call it, trickle-down grift-onomics. So these bottom feeding parasites, they attach themselves to these UFO celebrity scumbags, and in exchange, they get a piece. They get a piece of the money. By all accounts, I mean, we could do some quick estimates, but Matt Ford, in the space of a year, blew by people that have been running UFO shows for 5 years. And how did he do that? He did that because he was given access to the UFO celebrity scumbags whose asshole he licks and whose cock he sucks. Ugh, get down on that cock, Matt Ford. Get down on that cock, man. I hope you better. The only way Matt Ford is successful at getting views is because he presents clickbait, sensationalized garbage stories that reinforce completely evidence-free scumbags selling completely fake stories. So congratulations to Matt Ford of the Good Propaganda Show. This is who Lue Elizondo chooses to release his statement to. A man who is provably pushing completely and totally fake conspiracy theories like the Wikipedia bullshit, right? A man who is giving a pass to every UFO celebrity scumbag that has been caught lying multiple times or selling completely fake stories, you know, people like Coltard and whoever, and Lue Elizondo selling the fake story that he ran a Pentagon UFO program. And also, Matt Ford has to live in an echo chamber. Recently, he made a lot of allegations and accusations against one Mick West. Mick West goes into his live chat and says some things. He got booted from the live chat. So Matt Ford is a bottom-feeding grift-onomics. He's getting his piece of that Lue Elizondo lie pie. Congratulations, Matt Ford, you piece of shit. Anyway, Lue Elizondo released this statement to Matt Ford of the Good Propaganda UFO Ass Licker Show. And I just, all right, I'm sorry. This is serious. We got to read the fake Pentagon UFO program director's statement, right? When people first inquired about my story, the Pentagon initially confirmed my role in ATIP and the focus of its efforts. I'd like to see how they confirmed that. Shortly after Secretary Mattis left the department, the Pentagon changed its tune by saying all my emails had been deleted. The same emails that would substantiate not only my claims, but many of those claims, many of those who were part of the ATIP effort, including one of its sponsors, the late Senator Harry Reid. Yeah, Senator Harry Reid is the one who scammed the government out of $22 million to give it to his buddy Bigelow to study a ranch that Bigelow owned. And that's how we got the whole Skinwalker scam, and that's where all of this shit began. Elizondo goes on to say, later, when confronted with a FOIA request, the Pentagon denied again the existence of any email or correspondence between me and other seniors within the department whom I was regularly engaged with until the day I left the Pentagon in 2017. Recently, one of my emails was leaked by an unknown person on Reddit. This time, when the Pentagon was challenged with the existence of the email, in this case, one that described the authorized transfer of ATIP leadership responsibilities. So he's saying in this statement that that email that we just read to you was him transferring the authorized leadership responsibilities to another senior member of the department. That would be Neil Tipton, and endorsed by the Secretary of Defense front office. They were forced to admit this email existed and was not deleted as they previously claimed. Well, maybe it was in Neil Tipton's box and the sent box was deleted. Begrudgingly, when the Pentagon finally did release that email, proving my role, see, he's using that email, proving my role and participation in ATIP. No, that email doesn't prove that you participated in anything except in the land of make-believe, Lou Elizondo, but it is what it is. The Pentagon decided to redact the mention of ATIP, citing FOIA exemptions. By this logic, they would also have to redact the name Arrow and any other office at the Pentagon. It should be noted that the Pentagon's mouthpiece for this is one individual within the Public Affairs Office, that would be Susan Go, who has been given sole authority to handle all FOIA requests involving UAPs, Arrow, ATIP, and specifically me. All this information is in the public sphere and can be easily verified thanks to the works of a certain private citizens fighting for increased government transparency through the FOIA process. Simply put, you and Congress continue to be lied to by a few at the Pentagon who prefer to view you and the American people as sheeple. It's always us against them. Make no mistake, The Pentagon Public Affairs Office has a long history of feeding misinformation to certain questionable journalists to mislead the American public. And that relationship is alive and well today and is in fact now legal through a new and disturbing policy of perception management. Well, yeah. For those unaware, we can thank Barack Obama, who made it legal to use propaganda against American citizens. Anyway, this is where it gets... So this statement is basically like, see, I did have an email, and I handed off leadership to Neil Tipton, and the Secretary of Defense signed off on his appointment to that office. There's no office. There's no program. It doesn't exist. Anyway, he closes his statement with the bizarre claims of being under threats, right? And what do we see when we showed you the common traits of a UFO messiah? They all claim to be under constant attack. And as I said, I think this is a psychological tactic. After all, I'm pretty sure that Lue Elizondo is trained in counterinsurgency, counterintelligence, and psychological operations. Claiming that you're under attack could garner sympathy and make people instinctively believe that you have very important information, so important that you're under attack by the deep state or the men in black or the government or whatever it is. Interesting that now Lue Elizondo is exhibiting that trait, which, by the way, that trait has also been exhibited by Stephen Greer, Dave Grush, Corey Good, David Wilcock, Kerry Cassidy, Simon Parks. Many of these grifters always claim they're under some form of deep state attack or threat. Anyway, he closes his statement to say, to add insult to injury, I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers. So he's claiming that he's a whistleblower, formerly associated with the UAP effort for the U.S. government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I am not suicidal. I am not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illicit activities. If something happens to me or my family members in the future, you will know what happened. Yeah. So there we go. He's exhibiting that trait of claiming to be under attack. And, you know, normal people, if they're under attack, they call the police. They call the FBI. No, Lue Elizondo called one of his ass lickers in the form of Matt Ford from the Good Propaganda shit show and issued this statement, right? It's so bizarre. It's so childish and so stupid. But I've come to expect childish things from Lue Elizondo. Like, I don't know, using sock puppet accounts to yell at his critics he doesn't like and insult them and threaten them and harass them, right? Or like pretending to drink beer and then be claiming to drink apple juice, or do an interview where you pretend that you and your other UFO celebrity ass licker, Sean Cahill, or I'm sorry, whatever his name is, the underling, right, is in different locations, and then you go to take a shit and we all find out that you're in the same house together doing the interview, pretending you're somewhere else. It's kind of childish and stupid and ridiculous. I've come to expect childish and stupid and ridiculous things from this fake Pentagon UFO program director. But it is what it is. I would like to say and put on the record that I will be trying to find and interview Neil Tipton, because I think if we find out that Neil Tipton was like, yeah, I got that email and then I never got any more information from Elizondo, never got read into a program, never got materials, never got a list of who else is in the program, we're going to know once and for all that Lue Elizondo is a fake Pentagon UFO program director who made all this shit up so that he could grift off of the UFO community as some kind of UFO expert. He's no expert. And we know he's no expert because he basically is pushing completely and totally fake UFO cases, crash retrieval cases involving William Brophy as real, because he's co-signing Dave Grush, who for 346 days now has shown no evidence because he's claiming to be a whistleblower. What did he blow the whistle on? what incredible proof of alien intelligence visiting Earth did he show us? Nothing. And by the way, Stephen Greenstreet today just did a post essentially just asking, like, okay, yeah, I'm going to share it because it's an important point, and we need to. Oh, wait a minute! I got to do this a different way. We need to recognize something that's so fundamental and so important, and yet it gets missed somehow. Stephen Greenstreet of the New York Post. UFO whistleblower Lue Elizondo went public 6 years ago. UFO whistleblower Dave Grush, friend of Elizondo, went public 1 year ago. What evidence of, quote, alien or unquote, or, quote, non-human intelligence, unquote, have they provided during their whistleblowing? And then he tweets at it's just interesting. And people are in this thread forever arguing with him. But there's somebody. Well, that's UFO Shane. Yeah. By the way, UFO Shane sucks at promoting my show. I listened to his space earlier, and he gave the totally wrong information about what's going on my show tonight. Thanks, UFO Shane, you dumbass. Anyway, good try. But anyway, so people are arguing with him in this thread that is just ridiculous. A lot of people are just chiming in and saying zero. But it's a truthfully, factually accurate statement that Lue Elizondo has provided absolutely zero evidence of aliens, absolutely zero evidence of non-human intelligence. But he did pretend that they may have pieces of alien spaceships for money, right? And they collected $2 million for TTSA while he was claiming we might have pieces of an alien spaceship. Yeah. Turned out to be a nothing burger. Wasn't alien parts. It was a piece of a missile casing. And that was revealed in the Arrow historical report. So not only has Lue Elizondo not provided any evidence of aliens, he's been wrong about everything. Wrong about those 3 worthless videos that he and Christopher Mellon allegedly stole out of the Pentagon or borrowed out of the Pentagon. They weren't meant for public release, but they somehow got them out of the Pentagon and then proceeded to profit from them for years and years and years. Those videos were meaningless. They proved nothing. And the Go Fast, again from Stephen Greenstreet, I believe he made that video, it wasn't going fast. It was going 40 miles an hour. I just think it's interesting that we can't, I get if you really want to believe in this stuff and these people, but you have to realize and understand that in 6 years, Lue Elizondo has released zero proof of anything. But yet there is all this controversy that he lied and lied and lied and lied again. There is all this controversy that he used sock puppet accounts to attack people who asked important questions. There is evidence that he was wrong about being in possession of alien spaceship parts with his friends. There is evidence that he was completely wrong on those 3 videos that were nothing spectacular. There is evidence that he loves money, like all these UFO whistleblowers. What is he blowing the whistle on? 6 years. 6 years, you haven't shown evidence of anything, Lue Elizondo. I just don't get it. And further, when people ask me what I think of Lue Elizondo, I honestly Oh, sorry about that. Oh, 1 second. Luke cut the microphone cable. Yes. I don't know how far back. 1 second. I think that just happened. 1 second. Let me check my settings here. I don't know why, but we're having all kinds of trouble here. The microphone goes from the proper microphone, my Blue Yeti here, to the webcam microphone, and that's never good. So we didn't miss much. I'm sorry for I don't know if I kicked the cord. Appears to be working now. All we missed is that I was talking about Stephen Greenstreet, who commented that in 6 years, Lue Elizondo hasn't provided any evidence. And in 1 year, Dave Grush hasn't provided any evidence. UFO whistleblowers that have no evidence is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, Lue is under the table. That's exactly what's happening. Lue Elizondo's under the table. He was under the table kicking my microphone cord to stop me from telling the truth about his grift. So, Stephen Greenstreet correctly pointed out that in 6 years, Lue Elizondo has provided no evidence of anything. What is he, just waiting for the book? All the evidence is going to be in the book. Buy the book. Oh, and that is another thing that I wanted to share. This is interesting. Also from Greenstreet, he ordered Lue Elizondo's book, which is pretty interesting. 1 second. He says, I just ordered Lue Elizondo's book, Imminent, from Amazon. Elizondo claims this isn't real. Then what the fuck did I just order? Did I purchase a product that was falsely marketed with fake information? If so, who's behind all this false information? Anyway, estimated delivery date is December 5th. And this is where it gets interesting, and also where it gets to be potentially criminal, in my opinion. The product description is a groundbreaking memoir from Lue Elizondo, the former head of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, revealing what is really known by world governments about UFOs and UAP. And then we get to this about the author. Boy, Elizondo spent the majority of his accomplished military career as a senior intelligence officer, hunting drug traffickers, terrorists, and spies around the world. And by the way, I'd like to see some proof of that. I'd like to see proof that he hunted drug traffickers, terrorists, and spies. I don't believe anything this man says without verification. But anyway, in 2008, he was asked to be a part of the Pentagon's secretive Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which we now know never existed. It wasn't a real program. And in 2010, he assumed the position as its director. So he's the director of a program that doesn't exist and has no funding, has no offices, has no resources, has no employees. In that capacity, Elizondo led the U.S. government's effort to study UFOs around the world. In 2017, he resigned from his position in protest of government secrecy regarding UFOs. Since then, he has led the global disclosure effort. As a civilian with high-level national security clearances, Elizondo is widely viewed as the most credible expert in the world regarding UFOs. He's the most credible expert in the world regarding UFOs. But see, here's where it gets problematic. I think it was Area 503 that pointed out that this is a UK publisher, which may be intentional to get around consumer fraud laws in the United States. I don't believe that he can legally claim that he ran a program that didn't exist, that he never ran, to sell a book. That may be considered some form of consumer fraud. But again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a law enforcement officer. But Mr. Elizondo has a lawyer. I wonder if he had any conversations with his lawyer about the possible, consequences of selling a book with completely and totally false marketing, lies in the marketing materials for the book. I don't believe that Mr. Elizondo ever ran an official or real Pentagon UFO program. I believe that he was a UFO hobbyist in his spare time. And again, we have on the record statements from the Pentagon. He had no assigned responsibilities around ATIP or UFOs. So at best, he was a guy who had a hobby of UFOs while he also worked for the Pentagon. So talk about embellishment. It goes from, well, I was interested in UFOs, so while I worked at the Pentagon, I started looking up stuff and checking for videos and talking to people. I would be fine if he said that and was honest and truthful with what really happened. But to pretend that he was the director of a secretive Pentagon UFO program, it shows all of these guys overpromise and inevitably underdeliver, and they always embellish, right? So Elizondo has only began interacting with the UFO community again in preparation to sell his book. I believe so. Yeah, it's going to be out soon. Where was the last 2 years while the fight was on for UAP disclosure? Why wasn't he part of the hearings? Because he knew that he couldn't perjure himself. I believe he didn't testify to Congress because he couldn't go there and say, I ran a Pentagon UFO program. They would know he was lying and he may be subject to prosecution, but they almost never prosecute anybody for lying to Congress for perjury. Why wasn't he giving interviews, going on the podcast, TV circuit, tweeting multiple times a day to the UFO community for those 2 years? So allegedly crucial to UAP disclosure. I agree. It's really this whole story of Lue Elizondo is a perfect example of a false UFO prophet or false UFO messiah, as we call them. Elizondo came onto the scene, sucked up all the attention around this topic, and has provided nothing for 6 years now. But yet he's crying and complaining, Steve Long and others in my live chat. He needs money, and he never asked you to buy the book. It's really, really an interesting situation. And I think that the Lue Elizondo story is going to serve, at least for me, as a cautionary tale of what happens when you put your faith in a false UFO messiah. What happens is they overpromise and then they underdeliver, and then you experience the big letdown. I would strongly caution anybody, regardless of whether you've had personal experiences yourself. Many of us here have. That's why we're here. We're here looking for answers, many of us, to our own personal experiences. But I would strongly, strongly caution all of you, having observed this community and many of these other false UFO prophets or messiahs for decades now, don't put your faith in these people. Do not trust any of these people. It's okay I would say it's okay to listen, but it's not okay to listen blindly. And I'm not sure I'm terrible at language sometimes. It's not okay to listen blindly. It's okay to look at what people are offering, but it's not okay to blindly trust that what they're telling you is the truth. You have to verify every single thing every single one of these people says, right? Plan D is here. Thanks for being a member. Says, awesome adventures only here on YouTube. Yeah, well, we appreciate that. And for those unaware, we are a viewer-supported show, and we read every single super chat, and we read every single PayPal pledge. We want to thank you kind and generous benefactors for throwing a couple of bucks in our hat. It really, really does help us continue to do these broadcasts and not sell out. I don't want to sell out and be a UFO circle jerker like Matt Ford, licking the assholes of people that are provably liars like Lue Elizondo or Ross Coulthard or any of these people. Yeah, all that you really have to know about some of these UFO circle jerk shows is that they literally have to blow a bunch of scammer liars every day of their lives to achieve what they're achieving, which I guess is all they care about, clicks and views. All right, I'll take some comments and questions before we move on. Lucy Day is here. Steve Long, it's part of the script they all use, claiming no money in it for them, and they're broke. Yeah, we just caught Jeremy Corbell claiming he doesn't make any money out of UFOs too. Bob Lazar said he's not in this. He didn't make any money. He didn't try to cash in. They all say that, right? Lue Elizondo claiming he's given 7 years of his efforts for free. Yeah. Lue Elizondo claims he gave 7 years of his life to the UFO world for free. No, he was paid for TTSA. He was paid for his television show. He was paid for the book deal. He was paid for live speaking engagements. He's been paid this whole time. Yes. Arlene Atkins Zell, thanks for being a member and being a longtime show supporter, says, even double check ones you've checked before, because weave truth into the lies to try to fool people. Yeah, good. Good. So that's about all I have to share on Lue Elizondo. But I will say this, I would strongly caution Mr. Elizondo against lying about running a real program in the marketing materials of his book. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I just don't think that's, well, first of all, it's definitely not moral. It's definitely not ethical to do that. It's definitely immoral to lie in the marketing materials for your book, and it may indeed be illegal and against some form of consumer fraud laws. You're not allowed to misrepresent products that you're selling. And if what he's selling is, I ran a government program, but the government says, no, you didn't, he's going to have a problem from a legal perspective selling this book this way. I think, you know, he really should yes, that was from Stephen Greenstreet, though. Operation Shutdown, the graphic he showed where he said, big things are right around the corner for 7 years was epic. Yes, that is another one thing I want to also share about the UFO messiahs is the longer they're on the circuit, the easier they are to spot the false messiahs. How many promises that disclosure is just around the corner did Lue Elizondo make? How many promises did people like Stephen Greer or Stephen Bassett make? How many promises do these people make that are all broken promises? The longer they're here, the more you see their broken promises. This is why I'm so good at David Wilcock, because I was watching David Wilcock since before the year 2000. I was on his original website. I knew what he lied about and what he promised people. He's promised people superpowers leading up to the year 2000. That didn't happen. Then he did it again in 2012. That didn't happen. So the longer they're here, the easier they are to spot. We want to thank a kind and generous Lucy Day, who's been the MVP of Super Chats lately. Thank you for your kindness, Lucy Day. And thank you also for being a YouTube channel member. $30 Australian. Says, praise the truth, support the show, people. Well, maybe you just started something off. I hope that you did. I hope that more people are generous tonight besides you, Lucy Day. But we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. The MVP of Super Chats lately. Let's not forget, Lucy Day sent a $100 Super Chat recently. I do love and appreciate all of your support. Thank you, Lucy Day. Thanks for appreciating us. We certainly appreciate you. Talmud, who's also a member, says, they're my superpowers and I want them now. Yes. Yes. I want to take a moment also to tell you that there's a hell of a weekend here planned at Truth Seekers. We've been doing these Truth Seekers classics where I usually play an episode that I thought was really good from our vault, essentially. We've got I think we're up to 1,100 shows, but many of them got taken down because of different situations, which, by the way, I'm going to be revisiting one of those situations. For those unaware, a bitter, angry little show host cried and complained that I shouldn't be able to make money covering Corey Good because he got sued and he couldn't or whatever. So I took all the videos down. I don't like attack vectors, but I'm considering putting them back up, just turning the monetization off. I started giving the money that I made covering that clown to charity. But I'm rethinking that. I don't think anybody has the right to tell me what shows people don't get to see anymore because they're butthurt or whatever reason, or legal threats. We were also under threats of lawsuits in that situation. I'll be revisiting that when I have time, and I think I'm almost sure all the Corey Good stuff, I'm putting it back, but I'm turning the ads all off. There's no monetization, so I won't make further funds, and the money that I did make from covering Corey Good, I've committed to give to charity. It is what it is. But this weekend, we have a hell of a show for you on Friday. It's 11 hours of me hammering Jimmy Church and Linda Moulton Howe for their fake bullshit, nonsense, fakery, fraudery, bullshittery, misinformation, disinformation, and just lies. 11 hours of me hammering those two. And then on Saturday night, I think maybe it's 7 hours of me, or 8 hours of me hammering Ross Coulthart and giving a huge history of all of the fake, completely and totally 100% provably fake stories that Ross Coulthart has peddled. By the way, the Friday night show is 11 hours of me showing all this evidence and proof that Jimmy Church and Linda Moulton Howe sell absolute bullshit fake stories for money. And then on Sunday, we have a special of just Linda Moulton Howe that I think is 7 or 8 hours long. I decided I'm getting tired of arguing with stupid people. So when a stupid person on Twitter or any social media, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is, when a stupid person tells me Linda Moulton Howe is a great journalist, I'm just going to send them the 8-hour broadcast of me hammering her, selling completely and totally provably fake stories for 8 hours. I don't have time to explain shit to people. So, and by the way, I considered that was a tactic of the grifters to give people a huge amount of homework so that you win the argument. But in this case, I think it's warranted. So this weekend, we've got 26 hours of content between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night at 9 p.m. And also, because those streams run so long, the people in England and Australia can actually show up to a live stream at, well, it's not live, it's a premiere, but they can show up to an event, an event here on our channel at a reasonable time to them. So I wanted to also get into some history, because David Grush, Lue Elizondo, is not the first person to make claims of aliens, alien crash retrievals, alien bodies. One of the people, and I want to thank John Greenwald Jr. from the Black Vault. It's at BlackVault.com, at BlackVault.com. John's just great. In our UFO whistleblower series, I completely left one person off, Bob Eschler, who was a NASA mission specialist. One of the other common traits of the UFO messiahs or claimed UFO whistleblowers is that many of them have an impressive background or resume. You know, this guy isn't just some wackadoo. He's a NASA mission specialist, and he says that there's proof that the aliens are here. But like many people, either intentionally or just through his own, I don't know, incompetence or misunderstanding things, Bob Eschler got everything wrong. And he would base all of his wild claims off of an interview that he once did that it turned out he got the whole thing wrong. Much like David Grush and many others may have gotten things wrong and just misunderstood things. This is from John Greenwald Jr. For decades, there have been many, quote, UFO whistleblowers with claims about alien technology, captured spacecraft, and even bodies, all very similar to the claims we see circulate now. Remember, NASA mission specialist Bob Eschler, I don't know how you say that. Here he is in 1993 on GMTV. He was one of the people behind the Guardian case, too. So honestly, I kind of always thought he was full of shit. But this is an interesting example in a short video of claims that people have made. This interview is from 1993. And let me put my fair use banner up. We're going to get into this. And I want to thank John from the Black Vault, I completely forgot that this guy should have been in our UFO Whistleblowers series, because he was something of a big name for a time and made incredibly similar claims to claims that later people like Dave Grush would make. So this is fair use. It's a transformative work. We're educating the public and discussing and critiquing the video we're sharing.
Few UFOs, what we're talking about this morning. The gentleman with me now is Bob Exler. Bob is a former NASA mission specialist. Bob, we're going to see some footage very shortly with sightings for what are allegedly UFOs. But from your point of view, what is the single most convincing piece of evidence that you've come across that convinces
Listen
you
very
that
carefully to what he
we
says
have been
here.
visited?
Well, I started out extremely skeptical about this whole thing. I thought this was just rubbish from the tabloids, but I was surprised to find thousands of U.S. government documents from intelligence agencies that tended to indicate that there was a little bit more to this than met the eye. So I went to seek guidance from the various highest levels of the United States intelligence community, and I was quite alarmed at what I was able to learn.
Now, we are, in this report that we're now going to show, we're going to hear a conversation featuring you. Tell me the context of that conversation.
Well, I had contacted Admiral Bobby Ray Inman, who was the head of the National Security Agency in the United States.
Yes, so Mr. Exler interviews Bobby Ray Inman, a high-ranking government official, and he walks away from that interview completely and totally convinced that the government is in possession of crashed UFOs. Just one problem, Mr. Exler was completely and totally wrong in his understanding of their conversation, as we'll see.
Deputy Director at CIA, Director of Naval Intelligence, and a variety of intelligence posts, a technologist, and clearly someone that, if this was really accurate, that there really were UFOs and non-human intelligence around, this is a man who had to know. Mm-hmm. So I was able to contact him thanks to a contact through Admiral Lord Hill Norton here in the UK. And this conversation, he alarmingly not only indicated that these issues were covered under national secrecy laws, but that the United States government did in fact have possession of the hardware associated with this. In other words, this was an actual physical phenomenon. As
a craft, a spaceship.
Several of them. And
so here we have it. He is doing media appearances saying, well, Admiral Bobby Ray Inman told me that the government is in possession of alien spacecraft. Just one problem, the Admiral never said that, or he misunderstood what the Admiral was speaking about.
And they were in operational condition, which I assume suggested that they had been in contact, that they had been given these craft for some reason or another, because they certainly weren't crashed vehicles.
Okay. Well, is there anyone out there? Sue Whitfield reports.
Yeah, remember back in the 90s, every time the media played UFO reports, they always had to do the spooky music thing. Remember that?
Houston, this is Discovery. We still have the alien spacecraft under appearance.
Since 1947, when the term unidentified flying object was first coined, the American government is believed to have had more than a passing interest in UFOs. There have even been reports they've seized alien aircraft for secret testing, but it's never been confirmed.
It's true, Elmer.
Now, for the first time, comments made by a former military intelligence chief seem to imply that...
And what we're seeing here is the Guardian footage.
Some of the rumors could be true.
Do you anticipate that any of the recovered vehicles would ever become available for technological research outside of the military circles?
10 years ago, the answer would have been no. Whether as times evolve, they're beginning to become open on it is a possibility.
A short time later, Bob Exler received this call.
Mr. Exler, this is Tom King in Admiral Inman's office. Yes, you would be breaching confidence and or violation of the secrecy laws in discussing his involvement in any matter.
I heard what you said earlier, but obviously the big problem always is the pictures are never conclusive.
The pictures, yes, are not conclusive, but when you get involved in an investigation and you find the extraordinary physical evidence left behind, and you talk to the witnesses, medical doctors, officials of governments and so forth, in one of the cases that we just...
This is a problem. Exler is using the tapestry of evidence available. You know, many of these people seem to think that, well, if we take all the evidence as a whole, it's very convincing. No, I think we have to take each case as a separate event and evaluate the evidence of each case or story separately. You can't just weave a tapestry and say, like, well, people are being abducted and people saw UFOs in the sky and people claim they have contact with aliens, therefore it must be true because we have all these accounts. No. It's bad science. It's not science. And I would expect better from a national mission specialist, but here we are.
Seen some video from, there was a Canadian official who was actually taken on board the craft. When you subject these areas of testimony to lie detectors, polygraph,
yeah, we'll do another one soon.
Technology that
Thanks,
we have
William
to determine whether someone's actually telling the truth or not, the results become absolutely nothing short of alarming.
Okay, if these the Canadian government, the American government, if they are in possession of spacecraft, if they have made contact with aliens,
he does, Chuck Bam.
Why don't they tell us?
What I was able to learn is that the issue of secrecy dates back into the early 1950s. And in 1959, actually, NASA had a study conducted by the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C., addressing the issue of whether the alarming issue of a confrontation with...
Yeah, in the Brooks report, they basically said that the United States citizenry would panic. So we can't tell them if we do find, for example, signature of, you know, like a signature of an advanced intelligent species on another planet in our solar system. We couldn't tell the American public because they would panic. And that's long been the excuse of UFO promoters or why the government is lying to us.
Terrestrial culture should be released to the public, this information. It was determined that there would be grave consequences for just...
I'm not sure where in the UK. This is it's like a morning TV show, Patty, somewhere in the UK.
Well, not necessarily just panic, but the issues that it presented, not only theology, but issues
I think he is
economics, standards of monetary concerns. If you acknowledge the type of technology
You're right, Algo Ray.
Fuel-related industries,
yes, you are correct.
For example, you have grave consequences economically all around the world.
Somebody said this is from London.
So the determination was made that the only way to avoid this chaos would be through a slow indoctrination process over a matter of decades.
Okay.
Well, drip
disclosure. We'll talk more in depth later on in the program. You'll be back here about 8:45 this morning, so look forward to that. But for the moment, thank you.
Right, it's 8:46. Well, if you're one of those people who stays awake at night, have you ever seen one of these?
Again with the Guardian footage. By the way, this reminds me, I'm supposed to get a very high quality digital copy of this original footage. And it's one of those things that just was promised to me and I didn't follow up. But I believe that I am going to follow up on that. I'd like to see the high quality scan of this footage. All I've ever seen is really low res versions like this. Creepy music. Cue the spooky synthesizer. There you go. Spooky synth music.
Do you believe that there's something out there? Well, we're about to show you exclusive pictures of mysterious UFO-type objects which have never been seen before on British TV. Sue Woodfield's report also shows how seriously the American government take the issue, with a recording between a former NASA scientist and a CIA chief.
Yeah, and by the way, they keep using this recording of Exler talking to Bobby Ray Inman, but what we're going to find out is that Bobby Ray Inman had no idea that he was talking about UFOs or aliens. He thought he was talking about like recovered space debris or something like that. So Exler just ran with the government has alien spaceships when Mr. Inman, and we'll see that, he was not talking about UFOs or alien craft at all.
Houston, this is Discovery. We still have the alien spacecraft under turrets.
Since 1947, when the term unidentified flying object was first coined, the American government is believed to have had more than a passing interest in UFOs. There have even been reports they've seized alien aircraft for secret testing, but it's never been confirmed.
Yeah, reports from people like Bob Lazar, a convicted pimp fake scientist. and Len Stringfield's book full of 100 anonymous sources claiming aliens crashed and the government got the aliens and the bodies and the spaceships and are back engineering them. The evidence for alien crashes and alien crash retrievals is abysmally bad. And we see that when we look at these stories through the lens of history. You might want to check out our UFO crash series in our video section.
Now, for the first time, comments made by a former military intelligence chief seem to imply that at least some of the rumors could be true.
Do you anticipate that any of the recovered vehicles would ever become available for technological research outside of the military circles?
10 years ago, the answer would have been no. Yeah. Whether as time has evolved, they're beginning to become more open on it, is a possibility.
A short time later, Bob Exler received this call.
These look like flares.
Exler, this is Tom King, and
or Japanese lanterns.
Yes, you would be breaching confidence and or violation of the secrecy laws and discussing
again Guardian footage
in any matter.
And the phone was slammed down there. Bob Exler joins us. Good to see you, Bob. You really believe have you had a close encounter, as they say, or have you seen UFOs?
Well, I wouldn't really call it a close encounter. I think it has more to do with the contacts I've had with the U.S. intelligence community and being a technologist, being called in to analyze various video films and photographic evidence.
Again, he's using his NASA resume to bolster his credibility and also claiming to be in contact with lots of high-ranking government officials who have the need to know or have access to these super secret alien projects. Sound familiar? David Grush. Sound familiar? Lue Elizondo.
It's quite conclusive to me. I have, in fact, seen with my own eyes on quite a number of occasions, well over 20, at very close range, a number of these vehicles. It's quite extraordinary technology. Anybody interested in technology would be, it's like a kid in a candy store, really.
And there's no way that you could be mistaken and it could have been an airplane, helicopter, or something of that nature?
Well, Admiral Inman convinced me that these vehicles were not manufactured by human technology.
So see, he's ascribing things to Admiral Bobby Ray Inman that he never said. This is like the super duper prover maneuver, right? Well, this high-ranking government official convinced me that these couldn't have been made on Earth, and this is not human technology. This couldn't be human technology. He convinced me, and he's in the need to know. He's a high-ranking government official. It's storycraft. It's stagecraft. Like, oh yeah, sounds plausible. This high-ranking admiral told you that these vehicles couldn't have been manufactured on Earth, except nowhere in the conversation. We have the transcript. Did Admiral Bobby Ray Inman say that? He just, I guess, Mr. Exler just interpreted things the way that his belief system wanted things to be.
That's pretty conclusive for me.
Do you think, though, that the government know this is happening, know that it's going on, but why don't they want the rest of us to know? Why do they not want that?
Yes, you are correct. The government, many governments around the world do in fact know. In fact, NATO conducted a study in the 60s involving quite a number of these incidents. The decisions to maintain secrecy regarding this center more around not upsetting the economic apple cart, religion, theology issues.
And then here, we're probably going to get the free energy argument, right? It'll disrupt the coal and gas industry.
Come into play, and quite a number of issues that essentially center around science and technology.
You're former NASA. What do your colleagues at NASA think of you? Do they think that you're a crackpot, or do they agree with you?
Oh, no, not at all. They know I'm not a crackpot, and they're quite fascinated and interested.
If you have to tell people that you're not a crackpot, I just want to mention you might be a crackpot.
But every time I go to the Goddard Space Flight Center facilities to do analysis that we conducted on their equipment there with permission, they're always quite interested to see what the results are, because we do in fact see some rather extraordinary technology.
I think most people now would agree that it would be supremely arrogant for us to think that we're the only life form in the entire universe and you know, tucked away in this wee corner of our galaxy. But then it's another leap of the imagination to think that there's something out there, there's UFOs out there. And we do tend to think in terms of little green men. We can't seem to see...
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
...past that. Why do you think that they would come here in the first place?
Well, that's
and I love how in many interviews that you'll see with people like Bob Exler or Lue Elizondo or David Grush, we're relying on them to speculate for us. Well, why would aliens come and visit us? And they all have speculation to offer, but they're light on evidence. They're heavy on speculation and philosophical ramblings about how we're not alone in the universe and how, but very, very light on the actual evidence of these claims that they're making.
It's the question, isn't it? We do have to come to grips with the reality that perhaps human beings aren't the only intelligence in the universe, and that they have, in fact, been here to visit, in spite of projects like the NASA SETI project, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence in deep space. There are serious issues associated with this, and we have a mentality where we like to kind of poke fun at the issue through tabloids and so forth.
And like this kind of thing, this is
supposed to be a picture of an alien?
What we perceive an alien to be like.
Well, these are actual photographs taken from a case up in Canada that have indeed been authenticated by a Canadian government official who was taken on board the craft and apparently had some form of telepathic communication with the...
Oh, is that Wilbert Smith? I bet you it's Wilbert Smith, our favorite Canadian government wackadoo that people always claim, right? Wilbert Smith is the reason that people always use that talking point that UFOs is classified above, is so classified, it's classified more highly than nuclear secrets. That's due to Wilbert Smith, who was a government employee of Canada for sure, but he was also a complete and total wackadoo. I'm not sure if this case is related to him, but I'm betting it is. We'll look it up and get back to you on this issue. But Wilbert Smith claimed that he was in telepathic communication with aliens from the planet Saturn or the planet Venus from his backyard. He was essentially fired from the Canadian government for being a wackadoo. And people always attribute all kinds of things to him because he truly did work for the Canadian government.
The occupants, the pilots of the vehicle, as you might say. They are different than us, but it's interesting to note that they are humanoid and that they have 2 arms and hands and 2 eyes and so forth. They're quite much like us, only in significant ways they're different.
Yeah, why don't we ever get like dolphin people or like octopus people? Why are the aliens always roughly humanoid in shape? They have hands, they have 2 arms, 2 eyes, a nose, lips like humans. That it's just, I don't know. I think from an evolutionary standpoint, it's very unrealistic to think that everybody in the universe that achieved some form of consciousness or sentience or intelligence would be shaped an awful lot like us. But who knows?
So, though, if they can get here, they're more intelligent than we are. Are they further advanced than we are, perhaps? I mean, would they always be friendly or would they be malevolent?
Well, of course.
Again, asking the expert to speculate. He has no evidence to support anything he's about to say. None. But it won't stop him from waxing poetically about other intelligent life on Earth.
If there's one that comes, there's obviously going to be more. And just like we have different species of humans on this planet, I'm quite certain there's different species of alien life forms. So we could run into malevolence. In fact, President Reagan on several occasions alerted concern about
famous
the
Reagan talking
hostilities
point
from outer space and why it would be important for us to work together on this planet with superpowers and so on, uniting. Clearly, the problem that we're confronted with here is that although technologically these beings may be more intelligent than us, we appear to be more advanced in areas of civility. We have emotions and things like that. And we have concern for our fellow man, whereas that doesn't seem to be the case necessarily in some of these other cultures.
Bob, thanks very much indeed. It does seem strange that we can't get on with one another in this world, so you wonder whether we will get on with aliens, but thank you.
Right.
Yeah, so there we have it, an historical look, which I think is very important that we view the claims that people are making right now through the lens of history, who has made similar claims. Bob Exler, I kind of think he was a real convinced true believer. Unfortunately, he was completely and totally wrong. And John goes on to include a clip from Jay from Project Unity, and good for him, because Jay from Project Unity, despite what I think of some of the people that he involves himself in his show or whatever, good get. He tracked down Admiral Bobby Ray Inman and asked him on camera about the telephone conversation he had with Exler. And what we find out is that Exler was essentially full of shit. And here is that clip. Again, we're citing fair use. We're educating the public and critiquing the video we're sharing. So remember, Bob Exler, in television interview after television interview, claimed that Bobby Ray Inman told him the government has non-human spacecraft in their possession, and some of them are intact, and all of these things. And here we get his side of the story.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like you're suggesting here that you're aware of retrieved UFOs being studied by the military.
No, the answer was no. I would not. It would not. Absolutely, would no. Retrieved UFOs. I have high confidence.
A close confidant of George Bush and a man well acquainted with Area 51 was Admiral Bob Inman.
So an often used trope of some of these UFO grifters is that they assign credit for claims that they are making to high-ranking government officials. And Exler did it for, I think, a decade, claiming that Bobby Ray Inman told him that the government has retrieved UFOs or alien spacecraft.
His credentials are impeccable. He was director of both Naval Intelligence and the National Security Agency, as well as deputy director of the Defense Intelligence Agency and the CIA. In a telephone conversation with Bob Exler in 1989, he referred to recovered vehicles becoming available for research.
Looks like Bob Lazar there. I don't think that's an accident.
Do you anticipate that any of the recovered vehicles would ever become available for technological research outside of the military circles?
Again, I honestly don't know. 10 years ago, the answer would have been no.
Yeah.
Whether as time has evolved, they're beginning to become more open on it, there's a possibility.
It seems like you're suggesting here that you're aware of retrieved UFOs being studied by the military.
No, the answer was no. I would not. It would not. Absolutely would no. Retrieved UFOs.
There absolutely were no retrieved UFOs. Interesting that a so-called UFO whistleblower would base so much of what he was saying in the media on things he claimed that Mr. Inman told him. Now, I agree, it is a little confusing, but apparently Mr. Inman thought that he was speaking about adversarial technology, not UFOs, not aliens. And for those unaware, that we've covered it extensively here, there's Project Moondust and Moonbeam and all these other projects. If a Russian satellite falls from the sky, the United States government retrieves it, back engineers it, rips it apart. If a Chinese piece of a Chinese spaceship or rocket falls out of the sky, or airplane for that matter, the government goes and retrieves it. Mr. Inman never said the things that Bob Exler would attribute to him. Bob Exler saying, oh, no, he said we had recovered alien spacecraft. And even in this recorded conversation, he doesn't say those things. So this is when we get into the misinterpretation of available data. And I think in the case of Grush, many people misinterpreted things and saw things through a lens of a UFO or alien believer, and then wrongly assumed that this story involves aliens or UFOs. Perfect example is that somebody told Mr. Grush that a person touched an alien spacecraft. It turns out that that person didn't say that. They touched an F-117 Nighthawk or stealth fighter in a hangar, not an alien spacecraft. But these are how these things get twisted around and largely become, problematic. It's a twisted web we weave when we practice to deceive. And it takes a long time to untangle the deceptive nature of many of these claims and stories. So I want to take a moment before we end tonight's broadcast. For those unaware, we have a special broadcast on Saturday night involving Ross Coulthart and all of his various fake stories. But I suddenly realized that we have never, at least I'm sure we've talked about it here on the show, Ross Coulthart claiming that he knows the location of a giant alien spaceship. And but he can't tell us where the giant alien spaceship is. And it was so big that they had to build a building around it because they couldn't move it. And he knows exactly where that alien spaceship is, but he can't tell us. One of my favorite of Ross Coulthart's completely and totally fake stories is the story of the giant alien spaceship. He claims he knows exactly where it is, but he can't tell us. And just to display how these things work and how these claims that people make can really make their way all over the world in today's internet media landscape. This is from India Times, and this story of Ross Coulthart made it all the way to India and all over the world. Investigators' bizarre find. Major landmark allegedly hides enormous spaceship. An intriguing claim comes from a UFO seeker named Ross Coulthart, who says there is a large spaceship beneath the significant landmark that is supposedly too massive to transport. Here's what he shared. The author of the book, In Plain Sight, said in an interview with the YouTube channel Project Unity that this non-human craft is hidden beneath a specifically designed building. He even claims to know exactly where it is, despite originally finding it implausible when he first heard about it. However, his allegations have enraged the UFO hunting community, which is keen to discover the hidden location. The community has now generated a plethora of theories. Some believe the massive disaster is hidden in South Korea. The massive spaceship is hidden in South Korea. Tyler Rogaway, an aviation professional, believes otherwise. He argues that a specific location is more likely to be an air defense facility. Coulthart has a history of generating headlines in the UFO community. He made waves in June when he interviewed a whistleblower who claimed that the U.S. military has not only the bodies of many crashed aircraft, but also the bodies of its crew members. That would be David Grush. The U.S. government is taking these charges so seriously that a government hearing to explore them further could take place within the next several weeks. Yes, and in addition, Coulthart mentioned classified videos of spherical UFOs flying alongside U.S. military jets during training drills in February. Unproven claim. These unexplained anomalous phenomenon, or UAPs, have been sighted above nuclear power plants and military bases around the United States, as well as in the Middle East. Coulthart urges that these sightings be separated from the hundreds of UAPs that have long been generating problems for the Pentagon. Coulthart made these claims after 4 objects in the sky were spotted, one of which was a Chinese spy balloon. According to Coulthart, the video of these items has not been made public. I've interviewed pilots from the east and west coast of the United States who have literally looked across the cockpit of their craft and seen spherical objects off of their right wing, he claimed. They videotaped them and given them to their commanders, and those tapes are still classified. Congress is being urged to take action based on firsthand evidence from witnesses. The significance of Dave Grush's testimony is emphasized, and it has been reviewed by the intelligence community inspector general before being referred to Congress. Regardless, there is a need for serious investigative journalism and funding to explore the UFO phenomenon further. Yeah, I agree that there is definitely a need for serious investigative journalism. But I'm here to tell you that no serious investigative journalist would say, I know where a giant alien spaceship is. But I can't tell you. I know exactly where a giant alien spaceship is, but I'm sorry, I just can't tell you because that might endanger national security. And of course, Mr. Coulthart has made all kinds of excuses. That's another big bluff. we covered another of his big bluffs in which Ross Coulthart claimed that he knew that he was in possession of conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this renowned scientist. And then they cut to a shot of Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku didn't confirm shit. And Ross Coulthart is a garbage peddling, bottom feeding scumbag who sells completely and totally fake stories for money. And it is true that he is an award-winning journalist, but what a lot of people forget is that the latest award he won is the Bent Spoon Award in Australia, which is given to the person that generates or creates the most fantastical, unbelievable fake stories of the year. Ross Coulthart has won that. As far as his claims of knowing exactly where a giant alien spaceship is, this is childish and it's stupid. Of course, we are talking about a man who also claimed that anybody who is part of the UFO cover-up should be drugged behind a Humvee and murdered. Ross Coulthart is a garbage peddling, bottom feeding scumbag. He's a disgraced Australian journalist that no one should trust is telling the truth. He has proven time and time and time again that he will do whatever it takes to generate sensational headlines and make money selling fake stories. And I believe that his involvement in the Dave Grush story, as soon as I heard that Mr. Coulthart was involved, deeply involved in the Dave Grush story, I knew that Dave Grush was essentially full of shit and would never amount to any real whistleblowing. And that has kind of come to fruition because after all, we're up to 346 days now and Dave Grush still has provided zero evidence. Kind of like Ross Coulthart, who claimed to have conclusive proof of alien technology, but yet never provided any evidence, or claimed that he knows exactly where a giant alien spaceship is, but couldn't provide any evidence. These people, including Dave Grush, Lue Elizondo, and Ross Coulthart, love to make big claims, but they're always light on evidence. And I think it's important that we recognize that some people are just absolutely terrible sources of information. And I get it. Some of you are looking for information about these topics. Don't look to these garbage peddling scumbags because they don't have any real information to give you. And remember, I always say this, they're not telling stories, they're selling stories. They have a profit-driven motive to deceive people. And I, for one, am tired of these grifting scumbag UFO whores selling lies. Ross Coulthart, in his claims of knowing exactly where a giant alien spaceship is worthy of mockery. I don't know how anybody can listen to this guy when he's telling everybody he knows where a giant alien spaceship is. It was so big they couldn't move it. They had to put a building around it. And I know exactly where it is, but I can't tell you. Ross Coulthart makes my bullshit detector go off the minute he starts speaking. He is the least credible of all of these UFO grifters. And I, for one, think that he should be forcibly removed from the UFO community. Well, maybe not forcibly. Maybe that's the wrong word. I think he should just be removed from the UFO community. He's made enough money peddling completely and totally fake shit. It's time to go back to a real job, Ross Coulthart, but that's the problem. He's a disgraced Australian journalist. He has to cover UFOs to make a living because nobody will give him a real investigative journalism job because he has a proven track record of fake investigations, fake stories, fake evidence, and more. He is a scumbag. And the fact that he came to the United States, right? He comes into the United States media landscape like he's some kind of expert, and he calls himself an award-winning journalist. Award-winning journalists don't tell people they know where giant fucking alien spaceships are, you asshole. But hey, don't take my word for it. Let's hear what Ross Coulthart has to say about the giant alien spaceship.
What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, big, it can't be moved. Big, big. What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, big, it can't be moved. Big, 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 big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. 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 They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. So they're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. So they're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is. But it was bollocks big, 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 big. But it was bollocks big, 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 big.
So big, friends. I know exactly where it is, but he can't tell us. You know, I've joked about this before. It's just like George Knapp claiming he knows where the element 115 is buried, right? But he can't tell us. It's childish. It's like a child on a playground claiming that they have a laser gun, but it can't show it to you. It's childish and stupid. And thank you for indulging me. I realized that we're going to have a 7 or 8 hour deep dive into all of Ross Coulthart's completely and totally fake stories. But I didn't have a clip about the giant alien spaceship. And now I can clip this out, and we do. So this will more or less conclude our presentation. I have a little more time to share. So please put questions or comments from me in the live chat in all capital letters. I'll take some comments or questions before we wrap things up, both for tonight and for this week. But I want to make sure that I am a good show host. I try to be, and adequately promote some of the things we've got going on this weekend. As I stated, I've gotten so tired of stupid people that I'm just going to give out homework assignments. When somebody says that Linda Moulton Howe is a great journalist, I'm going to send this link to our, I think it's an 8 hour deep dive into Linda Moulton Howe's completely and totally fake stories. There's the first time we caught her selling a completely and totally fake picture of an alien. The Area 51 scandal, that came off of an Area 51 video game. And I knew that it was from an Area 51 video game because I played the hell out of it. It's a great game if you like shoot 'em ups. It's like Doom or Quake or whatever, but you're first person shooter and you're shooting aliens running around Area 51. Great game. She pretended that was from a genuine gray alien picture taken on a secret moon mission. And then she put it behind a paywall and made people pay to hear more about the picture and how it was taken and the person who took it. No, it came from a fucking video game cover. And Linda Moulton Howe is the grifting UFO grandma. I don't care how old she is, she's still a grifter. Then there's the second time we caught her selling a completely and totally fake picture of an alien as a real picture of an alien. Actual photograph of an orange-gray alien. That turned out to be artwork created for a fictional web series. And we tracked down the artist that actually made it. That's right. We tracked down the actual artist and interviewed him. His name was Philippe Kling David. And I apologize. He had to speak Portuguese through the interview, but we did translate it, and it's on the screen. And then, of course, we have our sort of comedic piece. What if Linda Moulton Howe killed those cows. I think it's just as much of a possibility as aliens did it and mutilated those cows. So it's interesting. We have a lot going on this weekend with some big, long streams. And we are going to have Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got Linda Moulton Howe and Jimmy Church and all the fake stories that they've been involved in, a deep dive. Then on Saturday night, we have Ross Coulthard, and I think that's an 8-hour deep dive into all of the fake stories that Ross Coulthard has sold. And then on Sunday night, we have this latest one, which I just showed you the graphic for. Linda Moulton Howe, the grifting UFO grandma, selling completely and totally fake pictures of aliens as real pictures of aliens for cash. I couldn't believe that we caught her twice. She did it once and we caught her. And then about a year later, she did it again. And to be very honest with you, I was so glad that we caught her a second time, because people are like, oh, you know, journalists make mistakes, Stephen. Yeah, well, once is a mistake, twice is a pattern of deceit, deception, and manipulation and grifting. She's the grifting UFO grandma. And I will never apologize. People get mad at me, like, oh, she's an old lady, leave her alone. If my grandma was on the internet scamming people for $5 to see a fake picture of an alien that she took from my video game cover, I would say, yo, grifting grandma, yo, grandma. You can't be grifting and scamming people like this, grandma. But apparently, Linda Moulton Howe's family just let her go on the internet and scam people. Wonderful, allegedly scam people. So we've got a very busy weekend up ahead. Archaic Revival says, but wait, there's more. Order now and receive the 75th Roswell special. Yours free, now only $19.99. Funny you should mention that, because June 7th is coming up, and we're going to play our 75th anniversary Roswell special. That's like, I think that's 20 hours, Archaic Revival, and thanks for being a member. Comments or questions for me, please put them in all capital letters. I appreciate that. It really does help. And we've got some new people in the live chat. Mark J. Cox, haven't seen you here before. You are most welcome. Welcome. And we have the Hydrogen line. Thanks for being a member. Oh, it's July 7th. You're right, Garaji. I'm sorry. Stephen, I will email you a MUFON report about the Guardians case. MUFON outed Bob Exler as a scammer, and he threatened to sue them. He walked away from the UFO community after that. Yes, please send me that. I would very much appreciate it. Chuck Bam says, Linda Moulton Howe is an award-winning journalist. Yes, she gets the Golden Dildo Award for most fake UFO stories. Did I get a P.O. box yet? You know, people want to send me stuff, and just email me, and I will put you on the honor system. No, I haven't gotten it. And I apologize. Just been so busy. I have to stop. I want to get the P.O. box for the show. I want it to be up at the cabin, so I'll just check it once a week when I go there. And I haven't gone in there and done that yet. Spooky. Somebody must have said spooky 3 times, like Beetlejuice. Spooky, spooky, spooky. And then spooky appears in the live chat. Spooky says, I should get back to editing. But hit the like button. Yeah, so many of you are here, and not many of you have smashed that like button. It really does help. I also should be a good show host and remind everybody, you can follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion. Just my name that's here on the screen, at Stephen Cambion on Twitter. Everything that we share on the show, most things I just put them on Twitter, and then I pull them from there during the live broadcast. So if you're looking for source material, it's all open source here. Feel free to use any of it. Just please credit whoever whoever the material is coming from. Yes, and Elmer Boilerhouse says, I think Coldheart's giant UFO is behind Wilcox's forehead. Can't say I disagree. Tim Houston says, I won't forget that, and she danced with Richard Doty 40 plus years ago. Yeah. Mark Jaycock says, the profile of my grandfather is in the movie Earth versus the Flying Saucers. It's the same right-facing profile of me. Day the Earth Stood Still. I love those old movies. My ghost box just went off. Yeah. It must be the demons. That's what it is. Yes. Tim Houston says, I will always keep a candle burning for Linda. She answered a letter I sent her many years ago. Yeah, Patty says, I would be embarrassed. You mean you'd be embarrassed if you got caught selling people fake pictures of aliens for cash? And by the way, when we caught her the first time, she just changed the wording from genuine gray alien picture taken on the moon to alleged gray alien picture taken on the moon. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, well, you're most welcome. We like new subscribers. That's another thing. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. It really does help. And also, you can visit our website. It's truthseekershow.com. One truth seeker and the word show, all one word, truthseekershow.com. And you can get all our latest episodes here, whether it's the video interviews or the video format of the show or the audio podcast. You can get either format you like. All the latest episodes are there at truthseekershow.com. Patty says, Stephen, are you doing a Roswell update? Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I wanted to, but I'm not sure I'm going to get to do, I'm not sure I'm going to get to do an update. Geez, I'm blanking here. Yeah. Oh, no, I will, because I have till July 7th, right? Or July 8th to broadcast that. Yeah, I think I'll do a Roswell update. I've got some new things to share since we did our 20-hour deep dive into Roswell with all the world's leading experts and authors, both believers and skeptics. Spooky says, remember when she said the Brazilian artist was a CIA plant after we interviewed him? Yeah, that was awesome. And then also, she brought in a remote viewer to remote view the alien in the pictures, which were fictional pictures made with 3D sculpting software. They weren't real pictures of aliens. She brings in a psychic remote viewer to view the alien's death. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. The UFO world is so dumb sometimes. It's just childish and stupid. And, it really should. Somebody sent me a message that just says, get real, dude, whatever that means. Yeah, I don't know. And I have been steadily removing friends that haven't spoken to me or whatever on Facebook. So follow me on Facebook as well, Stephen Cambion. There's a few slots there. I can only have 5,000 friends. Chuck Bam says, my ghost box is talking to my smart meter. Oh, that's some interesting stuff. Mark J. Cox says, my grandfather was best friends with Dwight D., and I used to drive POTUS Nixon's great aunt to bingo in Clearwater while Scientology was recruiting me before Tom Cruise was in the picture. Well, that's interesting. Yes, and Admiral Rascals wants to know, where are all the fat Nordic aliens at? Who knows? Yeah, right? Yeah, no insulting Scientology, Thomas of Cruise. Wingnuts, you should just read the Randall Schmidt book of UFO Crash at Roswell. We interviewed him several times, actually. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, that's one good idea. But I think for the Roswell rebroadcast, I will put an update. I have some additional stuff that I didn't have, additional research, things that are pretty interesting about UFO crash retrievals and may indicate that all roads lead to something called the Battelle Institute of Technology. But that's a story for another time. So we have done our due diligence, friends, not just for tonight, but for the week. I'll be heading to the cabin tomorrow, but I will be checking in with those 10 or 11 hour long deep dive live streams. 2 of them are up right now. Here, I can tease the other one. I apologize. I couldn't find the graphic in the moment here, but I forgot. It's already live. So this is Jimmy Church and Linda Moulton Howe, the Deceptive Duo, a deep dive into their false claims. And this begins tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and it will go until 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We certainly appreciate your attendance at these premieres. This is basically everything you ever wanted to know about these 2 grifters jammed into one super long broadcast. Many of their multiple fake stories that they've hawked, including one of my favorites, the Jonathan Reed. You remember that guy? He had an alien in his freezer. Turns out he wasn't a doctor, and he was completely and totally lied. He made it all up. But Jimmy Church talked to him and called him doctor through the whole interview, like an idiot. This one is tomorrow night, Friday night. Then Saturday night, we have a very long live stream deep dive into Ross Coulthard's fake stories. And then Sunday night, back to Linda Moulton Howe. Linda Moulton Howe gets 2 nights because she has so many fake stories. It's hard to cover it all one night, friends. So we've done our due diligence. We want to thank each and every Spooky did those thumbnails. Way to reuse. I'm lazy, Spooky. I was like, I could redo a new thumbnail, but we already have these that are so good. So I just jammed your thumbnails in there. Thank you for that. And people should be aware. If you see a really amazing thumbnail here on the show, it's probably because Spooky did it. The ones that are just okay, they're me. And yeah, Spooky, I was cursing at you recently doing layer stuff. I get it. I need to learn layers, but I've been cursing and, yeah. So I want one more thing that I have to check into, and then we will end our broadcast. For those unaware, we read every single super chat. We also read every single PayPal pledge. For those unaware, besides the super chat, you can send us a PayPal pledge and help us to praise the cash. We have a kind and generous $25 from Maria, who says, please keep the Truth Seekers classic episodes going on the weekend. Otherwise, I don't know what to do at 9 o'clock. Thank you. And thank you for the $25. Very kind and generous of you. Thank you for helping us to praise the cash. Maria is probably the MVP of those PayPal pledges. Every time feels like every time I log into the PayPal, there's a little gift from Maria. So thank you very much, Maria. We appreciate you. Yes, and so just to wrap up, tonight we kind of asked the question, is Lue Elizondo just another false UFO messiah? And I think when we look at that thing Green Street posted, 6 years, no evidence. I'm, in my opinion, Lue Elizondo is a false UFO messiah. He has no real or accurate or important information to share. If he did, he would have shared it by now. This new book is going to be just another money grab, which he may be immorally and unethically marketing, claiming that he ran a program that never existed, that wasn't funded, had no offices, had no employees, had no reports, had no resources. I think that's going to be very problematic, especially considered he was already involved in something that has been alleged to be a techno scam. Now he's going to be involved in another shady business dealing where he's falsely marketing a book based on completely and totally provably false statements. I would rethink that if I was him, but I'm not him, and I'm certainly not a law enforcement officer, so I don't know what the ramifications like. But I'm here to tell you that if Lue Elizondo is going to claim that he ran a Pentagon UFO program and sell a book, then I'm going to do it too. That's right. If Lue Elizondo markets this book claiming he ran a Pentagon UFO program, I'm going to do it too. I'm going to do it. If he's allowed to do it, I should be allowed, right? We got to come up with an acronym, right? Like the Advanced Aerial AAP, Advanced Aerial Phenomenon, APO, Advanced Aerial Phenomenon Office. I ran that for the Pentagon. Prove I didn't, bitches. Buy my book, assholes. It's great. All right. So we've done our due diligence. I'm looking forward to some cabin time, but then again, no, I'm not. I have to build this goddamn porch roof. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm doing the best that I can. Every week we make some little bit of progress. Hopefully this week we're going to get there's a big log that goes 35 foot across the whole front of the porch to hold the spine and the roof pieces up. I'm hopefully going to get that up this weekend. I'll be checking in from the cabin. I will be in the live chats. I might not be in there for 11 hours. Like, come on. But I will check in with the live chats. And we thank you people who appreciate those Truth Seekers Classic episodes. This weekend is an experiment. Can we jam a bunch of episodes into one very long stream? And will that benefit us? I'm looking forward to see what happens. So do me a favor and share those links on your social media. Just go to our videos section, copy the link, and put it on your social media. It really does help. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell so you too will know when we're doing a live broadcast and can attend. You can join our Discord as well. Links to do all of that are in the description of the video. We want to thank all of you kind and generous benefactors. We want to thank you Super Chatters, Patreon supporters, YouTube channel members. We love and appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for appreciating us. We're a viewer-supported show. So throw a couple bucks in our hat, especially you complainers. One thing I noticed is that the people that complain never give me $1. I think I'm going to have a new policy. Like, in order for me to read your complaint, I want $1. Join the Patreon, you cheap bastard, before you bitch and complain. There's like 800 hours of extra free content on there for $1. Brother, can you spare $1? Anyway, just an observation. So we've done our due diligence and we have explored some aspects of the false UFO Messiah phenomenon, which the longer you're in the UFO community, the more of these you will be able to spot. I promise you. I've done my best to try to educate and enlighten you, and I appreciate you lending me your eyes and ears. So, friends, that's all I got for you. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, especially you, Mr. Lue Elizondo. I will pray for you every day that you do not face legal consequences if you indeed choose to lie to the public about running a program you never did in order to personally profit. God bless you, Mr. Lue Elizondo. I think you should get a real job. Good night, and God bless all of you.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, cash. Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash, cash. Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash, cash. Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash, cash. Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash, cash. Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash, cash. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
They're lurking in the shadows, preying on the curious. UFO grifters and scammers, making us delirious. They're taking over the community, spreading lies and deceit, but we won't let them win. We won't admit defeat. UFO grifters, UFO scammers, trying to take over the world like a bad dream. Every balloon in the sky, every light in the night. The media runs with it like aliens in flight. Don't get me started on those ancient aliens. Frauds, spreading misinformation like it's sent from the gods. They twist the truth, they bend the facts, but we see through their lies. We're not buying their acts. Take over the world like a bad dream. Every balloon in the sky, every light in the night. The media runs with it like aliens in flight. But we won't be fooled, we won't be swayed, we'll keep searching for the truth. We won't be afraid, we'll dance to the rhythm of our own beat and kick those grifters right off their feet. So let's keep our eyes on the sky and our minds open wide. We'll uncover the mysteries with truth on our side. No more grifters. No more scams. We'll dance to the beat